Liam, a 35-year-old architect, had been in a committed relationship with his girlfriend, Abigail, for 4 years. The couple had recently moved in together and were planning to get married within the next few months. They were living in a quiet suburban neighborhood, in a cozy home that they had spent months designing and decorating, believing it would be the start of their future together. Liam's trust in Abigail was complete. She worked as a marketing consultant, and although they both led busy lives, he never questioned her commitment to their relationship. Her brother, Ethan, 33, had always been a close figure in Liam's life. He was like a brother to him. Ethan worked as a personal trainer and would often help Abigail stay fit, which Liam fully supported. But as time passed, Liam noticed small, unsettling changes. Abigail was spending more time at the gym, often working late into the evening. Her phone was always face down, and when Liam tried to talk about it, she dismissed his concerns, accusing him of being paranoid and insecure. Yet the uneasy feeling in his stomach grew stronger, especially when Ethan became involved in their workouts. Then, one ordinary day, Liam's life would shatter. Liam's suspicions finally reached a breaking point, one seemingly average afternoon. He had a free day and decided to surprise Abigail by coming home early from work. He grabbed takeout from her favorite restaurant, hoping to bring a smile to her face and enjoy a quiet evening together. He was looking forward to seeing her and spending time in their new home, which had become a symbol of their love. However, as he drove home, he noticed something odd. Ethan's truck was parked in the driveway. Ethan wasn't supposed to be there. He was meant to be working with clients at the gym. A knot tightened in Liam's stomach as he stared at the truck. Something was wrong. He took a deep breath and walked inside, holding the bag of food, trying to ignore the strange feeling growing inside him. When he reached the door, his thoughts raced. Something didn't feel right, and his gut was screaming at him. He quietly used his key to open the door and heard the sounds of laughter from upstairs, followed by a brief silence. Liam stood frozen, his heart pounding in his chest. He knew. He didn't need to walk any further, but he did. Step by step, he made his way up the stairs, the house now eerily quiet except for the pounding of his own heartbeat. When he reached their bedroom, he saw them, Abigail and Ethan, tangled at the sheets. His heart dropped to his stomach. It felt as if the world had stopped spinning. Abigail saw him first, and, instead of looking guilty or scared, she simply smirked. "What are you going to do? Cry?" she mocked, her voice cold and dismissive. Liam stood there in shock, but maintained his composure. He didn't yell. He didn't break down. Instead, with a steady hand, he pulled out his phone and took pictures of the moment. Abigail and Ethan scrambled to cover themselves, but it was too late. "Thanks for making this easy," Liam said, his voice calm. Then he turned and walked out of the room, leaving both of them behind. The next morning, Liam's phone was bombarded with calls and messages. His voicemail was full of frantic voicemails from Abigail and Ethan, begging him to answer. As he read through the texts, his hands trembled, not from sadness, but from rage. His thoughts were clear. He wasn't about to let this go. Abigail's texts alternated between pleading for forgiveness and making threats. Ethan, too, sent desperate messages asking Liam not to tell his wife, Sarah, about what had happened. But Liam wasn't the type to be swayed by threats. He had already made up his mind. The morning was spent in a haze of activity as Liam took swift action. First, he contacted his bank to secure his accounts. He moved his money, changed passwords, and removed Abigail as an authorized user on his credit cards. He knew that when someone betrays you in this way, it's not just the emotional scars that need tending. It's practical matters, too. Meanwhile, Abigail was growing increasingly frantic. She showed up at Liam's place, crying and apologizing. She said it was a mistake, that she was confused, and that they should move on from this. But Liam wasn't interested in her apologies. He remained calm as she tried to explain away her actions. When she finally resorted to anger, accusing him of throwing away their life over one mistake, Liam snapped. He looked her dead in the eye and said, "You know what's funny? I was actually planning a surprise for you tonight. Dinner reservations, a gift. I guess I was the one who got surprised." He watched her face pale when he mentioned the evidence he had found. Her attempt to deflect with accusations of privacy violations fell flat. Abigail's anger turned to panic as Liam stood his ground. She wanted him to feel guilty, to beg for a second chance, but that was no longer in the cards. It was clear to Liam now. She had no respect for him or their relationship. In the aftermath of the shocking discovery, Liam felt an overwhelming sense of clarity that had previously eluded him. The betrayal was raw, the hurt undeniable. But in that moment of quiet, he realized something important. He was better off without someone who would treat him this way. As the days passed, his anger slowly morphed into something more powerful: resolve. Liam started to look back at the relationship with Abigail, at all the little signs he had ignored. The late nights, the secretive behavior, the accusations of insecurity, all of it started to make sense now. His trust had been misplaced, and that realization stung, but it also fueled him to take control of his life once again. Liam wasn't going to be a victim in this story. No, he would write his own ending. Rather than waste energy on emotions like anger or sorrow, he focused on moving forward. The first step was cutting all ties with Abigail and Ethan. He blocked their numbers, ignored their calls, and refused to engage in any further conversation with them. But he also made sure to take care of the logistical side of things. He knew that betrayal wasn't just about the emotional damage, it was about the practical consequences. After securing his finances, Liam contacted Sarah, Ethan's wife. He knew she deserved the truth, and it was something he could not keep from her. With a heavy heart but a clear conscience, he sent her everything he had gathered, screenshots of messages, photos, and timestamps that documented the affair. Sarah's reaction was not what Liam had anticipated. There was no hysterical outburst, no fury. Instead, Sarah was shockingly composed. They met to discuss the details, and Sarah took it all in, carefully absorbing the evidence. Liam realized that in that moment, it wasn't just him who had been betrayed. It was Sarah, too, and she deserved to know what had happened. As they talked, Liam found a strange sense of solace in the shared understanding. He wasn't alone in this. Even though both he and Sarah had been hurt, they had the power to rebuild their lives. Their conversations shifted from anger to mutual support as they plotted out their next steps. Liam's perspective on the situation started to change. What began as devastation transformed into a powerful reminder of his own strength. The more he thought about it, the more he understood that sometimes betrayal isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of something new, something better. He didn't have to continue down the path of lies. He was free to choose the direction of his future. As the days turned into weeks, Liam felt an unexpected sense of freedom. The chaos that had once consumed him, the constant barrage of calls from Abigail and Ethan, the swirl of emotions just began to dissipate. In its place was a calm confidence that he hadn't felt in years. With his life beginning to regain some stability, Liam found himself focusing on things he had long neglected. He threw himself into his work, taking on new projects with enthusiasm, and for the first time in a long while, he felt truly alive. He realized that there was so much more to his life than the betrayal he had suffered. While the hurt remained, it no longer defined him. The first significant change was the decision to reconnect with his family. Liam hadn't spoken to his parents in months, consumed as he had been by the whirlwind of his relationship with Abigail. But now he needed their support. He reached out to them, and they welcomed him with open arms, offering unconditional love and understanding. Through conversations with his friends, he began to see that he wasn't the only one who had been in a toxic relationship. Several of them had faced betrayal and heartache of their own, and together they shared their stories. This sense of camaraderie was healing, and Liam found comfort in the knowledge that others had walked a similar path and emerged stronger on the other side. The most surprising change, however, was his evolving relationship with Sarah, Ethan's wife. After their initial conversation, the two had continued to stay in touch. Sarah was dealing with her own storm, but they found solace in their shared experience. They spent time together, supporting each other as they navigated the aftermath of their respective betrayals. It was during one of these meetings that Sarah introduced Liam to someone new. Aspen, a friend of hers who worked in the art world. Aspen was unlike anyone Liam had ever met before. She was vibrant, full of life, and refreshingly honest. Unlike Abigail, she had no hidden agendas, no pretenses. Aspen was direct and open about her intentions, and she immediately put Liam at ease. For the first time since his world had been turned upside down, Liam felt the possibility of a future that wasn't defined by betrayal. Aspen was kind, caring, and supportive without being overbearing, and they slowly started to get to know each other. It was clear that their connection was different. There was no drama, no games, just a simple, genuine friendship that slowly blossomed into something more. As Liam looked back at his past, he realized that the worst thing that ever happened to him was also the catalyst for the best thing to come: freedom, personal growth, and a new opportunity for happiness. Liam's transformation over the past few weeks had been profound. What started as a crushing betrayal, a moment that left him reeling, had become the catalyst for a newfound sense of self. He had learned more about his own strength than he ever thought possible. In the beginning, when the betrayal was fresh, it felt as if his entire world had come crashing down. The trust he had placed in Abigail, in Ethan, was shattered. It was hard to imagine life without the people he had loved and trusted for so long. The pain of realizing that both of them had lied to him was sharp, and it hurt deeply. But with time, Liam began to rebuild, not just his life, but his very sense of who he was. He no longer felt like a victim of their betrayal. Instead, he took ownership of his story, shaping it in a way that felt empowering rather than helpless. Each day, he focused on his personal growth. He read more, exercised, and rediscovered passions he had lost in the chaos of his relationship with Abigail. One of the most significant shifts in his mindset was his ability to let go of the anger. At first, it had consumed him. He wanted revenge. He wanted justice. He wanted to make them feel the same pain he was feeling. But as time passed, Liam realized that holding on to that anger would only keep him stuck in the past. He couldn't control what Abigail and Ethan had done, but he could control how he responded. So he chose peace. Instead of focusing on how they had wronged him, he started focusing on his own healing. He wasn't interested in playing their games or dragging things out longer than necessary. He had already made his move. He had exposed the truth, and that was enough. The rest, he realized, was out of his hands. They would have to face the consequences of their actions, and he didn't need to be the one to make it happen. Life had a way of taking care of those things on its own. The biggest change, however, was in how he viewed relationships moving forward. Liam had always been a trusting person, but the betrayal had taught him to be more cautious with who he let into his life. It didn't mean he would build walls around himself. It meant he would be more mindful of the energy people brought into his life. He had learned to value his own worth and to never settle for less than he deserved. His growing connection with Aspen only deepened his sense of personal growth. She didn't try to fix him, and she didn't rush him into anything. She simply let him be, allowing him to open up at his own pace. Their bond wasn't built on manipulation or deceit. It was built on mutual respect, trust, and shared values, things Liam had come to realize were non-negotiable for him moving forward. As the weeks continued to pass, Liam found himself embracing a quiet sense of satisfaction, not from seeking revenge, but from the simple fact that he had survived and come out stronger on the other side. His life, once marked by heartbreak and betrayal, was now being defined by peace, growth, and new beginnings. Abigail and Ethan, on the other hand, were unraveling. The consequences of their actions had caught up with them, and it was unfolding in ways that even Liam hadn't anticipated. Their relationship, built on lies and deception, had crumbled. Ethan's career as a personal trainer suffered as clients dropped him, and his reputation as a fitness influencer, tanked after his affair with Abigail, became public knowledge. Meanwhile, Abigail's career took a hit as well. Her reputation as a trusted marketing consultant was destroyed after her betrayal was exposed, and several major clients backed out after Liam shared the truth with them. But despite their downfall, Liam never took any joy in their suffering. He had learned that the true reward wasn't seeing them fall. It was in the personal strength he had gained through it all. There was a sense of relief in knowing that he had handled the situation with dignity, not letting their actions define who he was. The most unexpected, yet fulfilling, part of this journey was Liam's new relationship with Aspen. Their connection had grown organically, free from the drama that had marred his past relationships. Aspen's presence in his life was a breath of fresh air. She was honest, grounded, and genuinely interested in getting to know him without the baggage of past mistakes. Liam felt free to be himself with her, something he hadn't experienced in years. Their relationship was still in its early stages, but it was unlike anything he had ever known. There were no games, no deceit, just two people taking things slow, learning about each other and building something real. With Aspen, Liam had a sense of hope that he hadn't felt in a long time. He wasn't just surviving anymore. He was living. Liam often reflected on the lessons he had learned throughout the experience. He had learned that betrayal wasn't the end of the world. It wasn't the end of his story. In fact, it was just the beginning. A painful beginning, yes, but one that led him to find his true strength and resilience. He had learned that love, trust, and loyalty were the foundations of any meaningful relationship, and without those, nothing could endure. What he had once feared, the idea that his world had been destroyed, was now the catalyst for a new and better life. And in the process, he had discovered a deeper love for himself, one that no betrayal could take away. The most powerful lesson Liam learned from this painful experience was that betrayal doesn't define who you are. It's easy to let the actions of others dictate your worth, but Liam discovered that his true value came from how he handled adversity. Instead of sinking into despair or vengefulness, he chose to rise above, take control, and protect his future. His strength wasn't in seeking revenge. It was in how he reclaimed his life with dignity, focusing on healing and personal growth. In the end, he realized that sometimes what seems like the worst event in your life can be the very thing that leads you to a better future. In life, we all face challenges, and betrayal can come from the most unexpected places. However, how we respond defines our future. Like Liam, it's important to protect your peace and well-being, and to never allow anyone's actions to take away your sense of self-worth. When you experience betrayal, take the time to heal. Surround yourself with those who truly support you, and trust that better opportunities will come. Patience, self-respect, and the courage to move forward are the keys to reclaiming your life and building a stronger, more fulfilling future.